I'm going to call on Dr. Catherine Omotayo. Dr. Catherine Omotayo is a GP trainee working in Kent. She was born in Italy. She schooled here in London and is trained as a doctor at the King's College and London University. She's the founder of Mom's Pride, a platform for mothers from different backgrounds and walks in life, where they can feel safe, supported, and encouraged. They also organize prayer meetings to uplift each other regularly. Dr. Omotayo is also a motivational speaker with a passion for women, career women, and mothers. She loves spreading love and hope, making people feel empowered despite their current situation. Dr. Ediaye has talked a lot, but Dr. Catherine Omotayo is going to tell you her experience on frontline GP practice. Dr. Omotayo.
Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you very much, everyone, for this opportunity and the platform. It's really an honor to come here and to share with you my experience. Thank you very much, Dr. Ediaye, who spoke about what COVID-19 is about and really much gave us the background of what we can do to prevent, and also the reason why we have had those struggles. So I wouldn't repeat those. I do want to come more from a frontline point of view, so from a general practice. As you mentioned before, the general practice, the GP, is your first point of contact for the majority of people. And we are the ones who then refer to, to the psychiatrist when we need that extra support to manage. And I want to start on a positive note, that to show that we are working together and there are different services out there for people. So I think this is very important to have events like this to give people that information and that hope that you are not alone. Now, I wanted to highlight more about mental health, and I am aware that the majority of our audience as well are from an African background, and myself being Nigerian as well and coming from a Nigerian community, I am very much aware of the disconnection that you may find in a lot of people when it comes to the community and the services. So what is mental health? Already saying mental health sounds negative, especially from people from our community. They think that, no, I don't have mental health, whereas it is a type of health, like your physical health, like your spiritual health, so mental health has to do with our minds, our state of mind. And how would you know that there is an issue? Well, you may find that you may be low in your mood, and the doctor, psychiatrist will confirm that there are different ways to actually diagnose that. But when you find that your energy is quite low, when your mood is quite low, when you don't enjoy those things that you used to, those things should kind of indicate to you that you might want to look further into it and call your GP. So what we have, apart from our mood being low, is also feeling anxious. So you might have experienced, sometimes you feel like you have palpitations, like your heart is beating fast. You're feeling a bit uneasy about going out. As the presentation before did mention, some people find it easier to go out to the park to spend time with their friends. But now I live in London, where it's tier 4. You can't even see your family. That can make some people anxious, meaning your mental health is a bit unbalanced. Other people have experienced problems with their sleep. So if you find that you're waking up from your sleep quite often, you're worried. Some people, as women as well, may put it down to hormones. Some people may put it down to something that may have happened. And I'm sure the majority of us here today have heard or experienced some loss. Myself, I've experienced some loss from a member of my family as well. And it was not due to COVID, but the COVID lockdown rules and guidelines made it worse. So we can all imagine how hard it has been for everyone. And as a GP, I see people coming to me from a very young age up to the elderly age. Mental health does not just affect the older people, it affects the kids. I've had a teenager come to me saying that they just don't know what's happening, but they keep getting very anxious. The mum was calling me in tears, saying that there's been a change in their child. Very young, I think it was about 9 years old. There was a change in their behavior. Physically, they were perfectly fine, but they just noticed that they're just very angry. They started, becoming aggressive towards their sibling and the mum. So imagine as a parent, dealing with your own insecurities and worries and changes in lifestyle and those around you. So this is something that is very important, and that's why I am supporting the statement said before, that what is happening right now is very important to all of us. Now, I did want to zone in a little bit more in our community, as I know the word BAME, you may have heard of it, has been out there a lot, which stands for Black, Asian and ethnic minorities. I don't usually use that word just because everyone is dealing with their own different things. As Black people, we face very different things from the Asian and others. But I did want to zone in the community that I know best, which is the Black community, whether you're from an African or Caribbean background. The UCL, the University College of London, amongst many other universities previously mentioned, did do some surveys to find out what is happening in our community. And you did show that there is a rise of more than 20% of people feeling that they've had some mental health issues, some issues with anxiety. So I won't reiterate the numbers because they're very, very similar, but just to show you that if you have experienced this, you're not by yourself. The only thing I did want to also say is that the numbers, the study that you mentioned before had about 4,000 people. There are way more people than that. Why only such a small amount of people are taking part in this? And that is the reality that we have right now. We as Black people would like to see things that help us, but also as Black people, we don't actually take part in those surveys. How many of us here today can say I've taken part in any survey? How many would feel comfortable even answering a survey that will be sent out to you? But then how easy are we to forward any video or message that is a bit more negative or a bit more general about anything that's happening? And this is not to judge anyone. We all do it, but it's just a time for us to just reflect on ourselves and why we are the way we are and how can we bring solution. Just here on this platform, we have more than 3 doctors who are Black. That is powerful. And just us here being together is a big, huge step to bring the change that we want to see. Many times you will go to your GP and you will see a GP that doesn't look like you. So already you feel like they're not really going to help me, or they're just going to give me some medication, or immediately tell me to go to the psychiatrist. And that already puts you a bit aback, thinking, no, I don't have mental health. It's not my own problem. It's not me. That's your automatic reaction, which is normal. But then just people like you will understand why, and therefore will be able to help you. And that's part of my job, not just in the GP, but also in the community, to create that bridge. So why do we have that stigma? That's because, without giving you the history, it's because of the negative connotation to it. Even as a woman, you have to be the strong Black woman who looks very strong, is not emotional. As a strong Black man, you're not allowed to show your emotions. You're not allowed to show anxiety or fear. Whereas they are all part of being human. And once you realize that and you can tap into it, you can then use it as a strength rather than a weakness. So that's the reason why we have more Black people who are ending up with drugs, more alcohol, smoking, isolation. And that is already a problem without COVID. Now imagine if you now have to forcefully isolate people. We are now putting double layers to the issues that we have at hand. We are talking about mental health, where we have stats that show that Black people and Caribbean people are 7 times more likely to have psychosis. Psychosis meaning seeing, hearing things. These are just some of them. Hearing, seeing things that are not there, which from our cultural background, you will immediately relate it to some kind of Black magic, or you will relate it to, not being well within yourself. But there are other things that we can look into it more and figure out, okay, how can we help ourselves? If that's really true, that it is happening, how can we help ourselves? Well, I divided this into what they can do and what we can do. When it comes to what they can do, by they, I mean the system. The system is set up by people that are not like us. And this is not to bash the system because I work for the NHS, but it's also to be real. And I am having this conversation with people within the NHS that are part of the actual structure to bring that change. So people are having these conversations about, okay, even as a medical student who studied in London, how did you teach me about dealing with skin problems? How many of us have had skin problems from eczema? And the doctor would just give you any kind of cream. And then you find out that doesn't work. Then you go home and use all the shea butter, coconut butter, any kind of palm oil, everything put together, and then it works. Some of it even being too strong for your skin. And that's because we can all say that we were taught medicine on a light and white skin. We were taught medicine on a light and white person and individual with their own different risk factors. Without going into it too much, is the reason why these mental health stats are so high, a part of the reason why the mental health stats is so high in Black people. We have more Black people in living in cities and towns and boroughs that are more poor. They don't have access to health as easily as others. They don't have the knowledge that our counterparts have. And these are conversations and facts that a lot of us know, but maybe because of the environment we are working in, we feel a bit scared to talk about it. But I'm encouraging every one of us to actually bring it to the table, because people now during the lockdown are more ready to listen. You know, from the beginning of the lockdown, we saw the level of employment go down. Why? Because so many people were furloughed. That will put people in difficult positions. More Black people have more children, more jobs to do. That puts more stress. And that's why, as we saw before, the graph showing it going up and then going down when it allowed us to go more out and do what we do has changed. We were talking about suicidal thoughts. In fact, the data shows that more white people had more suicidal thoughts, but it was actually more Black people that had the higher suicide rates. And to give you numbers, it was 70% higher. It was still a small number, but the increase was so much compared to others. And not just suicidal rate, is also self-harm. By self-harm will be things that are, harming yourself in any way. Not just the hurting physical harm, but it's also the mental harm. And we will not realize we're doing it unless we check in. And that leads me to, what can we do? What are we doing about it as us, as a community? Yes, we mentioned about lifestyle changes. Earlier on, you mentioned about lifestyle choices. What are you eating? What are you drinking? How are you spending your time? If you're working from home, how is the structure of your day? All those things are very good. But let's dig deeper. And how many times have you done an MOT check, not on your car, but on yourself? How many times have you actually thought, okay, how was this week? How did I feel? Was I stressed? What made me stressed? How am I feeling? How was I towards my children? Was I a bit more angry? Was I more dismissive? How are my children towards me? And why? How quick are we to point the finger to different things? So these are things to think about. Meditation, if that's what you like doing, taking time to just relax. Watch Netflix, watch more movies, spend more time doing what you enjoy. Going out for walks, that is allowed as, your way of exercising. And for me as a Christian as well, my faith, there are stats to actually prove that those people that have a religious faith connection actually do better with their mental health, whatever your faith is. So connect with your faith community. Luckily, churches are now online, on Zoom, on YouTube. You can even join in with the American ones or anywhere around the world. So let's use the technology to the best of our knowledge. Another thing I did want to talk about is actually talking. How many of us are comfortable talking about things? Me being myself as a young Black woman, I already know how I may look to someone else who may not be used to hearing a young Black woman talk like this. And that's perfectly fine because we are all bringing change. We're all on the same page, working together. And that's why I really, really appreciate everybody who is online and watching later on. How much do we talk about it? How many times do you sit? Yes, we are picking up the phone to keep each other in contact, but then do you talk about, do you listen and talk about how you're feeling? Oh, I'm tired. Why? What's made you tired? Oh, I'm feeling this kind of way. Why? Let's have more deeper conversations to bring that up. And then when you talk about it, then you can reach out to the services out there. GPs are your friends. We are all here to support you. We are here to not just support your coughs, colds, which are as important, but also your mental health. And it is something that I always tell my patients when they're like, oh, I'm sorry to bother you. You know, I know you're very busy, but I've just been feeling stressed and I don't know who to go to. The first thing I say is thank you. Thank you for coming to me, and you've done the right thing to do so. You've done the right thing because you actually tapped into the service that really and truly you're already paying for. The service is out there for you. We are here for you. Every doctor is out there to do what we said on our personal statements, which is to help people in any way we can. And we are also signposting. We're not pretending to know it all. If there's something I don't know or something I need help with, as I said at the beginning, I would then refer you to the psychiatrist. We have something called the single point of access, which are emergency numbers that the GPs can give you, and you can call 24 at any time of the day or night. You can call the mental health service to have a chat with them, and they can organize whether they think is urgent in 24 hours or in 48 hours or on a long term. They can even refer you to what they call the home visiting team. They have what they call the crisis team. As the word says, it's a crisis. If you feel like I don't know what to do, it doesn't matter how silly it may sound to you. Let them be the one to tell you, you're okay, let's do this. And worst comes to worst, A&E is for that. It's not just an accident and an emergency that you're about to die, but it's also an emergency of your mental health where you don't know what will happen next. As I said, the suicide rate and self-harm is higher in Black people, meaning some people do end up harming themselves when it could have been prevented if only they spoke to a healthcare professional. So A&E, last resort, your GP, or if you already have those numbers, the crisis team, single points of access. I won't give you numbers because they're all different depending on your borough. But you also have charities, mental health charities like the Mind, Insight, Vitamind, if you're from the Kent. They're very good charities who would then offer you a like talking therapies, which I know in our community is a bit difficult to have that because you don't believe you believe that that's just for people with an issue. But they're there for someone to have a listening ear who is professional and can still refer you to other things if they need to. Yes, I know a lot of people think of, oh, if I tell my doctor I'm anxious, they will give me medication. And the medication is there to support. And as a believer, I believe that doctors, they treat, but they don't heal. Only God can heal at the end of the day. So medications are there if you need them and want them to support you, but they're not your go-to. And we have been trained not to just give them out like Skittles, as I've heard people say. So the more knowledge we have, as our doctor, our consultant said earlier on, the more right, correct knowledge we have, the more empowered we will be to then take control of our mental health because it is yours. I don't know what goes through your mind, but when I have that understanding of you, I can help. And that's why we are pushing for the government and the services to understand our language, understand our culture. Let's invite more Black people to become doctors, to be the front line. I know the racism is there and it will take a very long time to even break down, but then it starts from somewhere. And I think during this lockdown, because the mental health has gone this way, we've also stepped up even more. And I can testify that for myself and my colleagues. So just to also highlight, as mothers in the community, Black mothers, the Mums Pride group that I founded about 4 years ago, it is made by 99% Black people. And that was by word of mouth, not that I wanted it to be that way. But then that comes to show how much of a community we need. how much of a sisterhood that we need as women, wherever you come from. You know, and one thing I did realize is how high the rate of domestic violence also has gone up. So imagine people dealing with that, being in lockdown during this time, how they've had to cope when they're forced to stay indoors with people that they may not be comfortable with. So let's encourage each other to speak out there, to interact and reach out to the services that are out there. And if by any chance you can influence your community, because you don't need to be an Instagram 10,000K person to be an influencer. I believe you can influence from your family, from your church, from your community, from your workplaces, influence in any way that you can, because the change can be brought even step by step altogether. So just to conclude, I just wanted to reiterate that yes, the mental health issues have gone up because of the extra stress that's been put on us from the lockdown. But that's not to say that they were not there before. But this is our chance to actually bring some kind of an improvement, starting from the discussions like this platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Very, very insightful and very encouraging. You've given us pointers. You've actually laid out what is there in practice. You are saying that we need to take responsibility for our mental health. And as a community, culturally, we are kind of disconnected from it. But that mental health is real, as Dr. Idaye said, as you have again reiterated, and that we should be doing things to ensure that we maintain our mental health, and we also help to kind of encourage mental health and well-being in others, in people in our families, our churches, our communities, our local authorities, our where we live, and that it's an unprecedented time. Everyone is in the same boat, but we need to be doing things to help ourselves. It's still going to be something that is going to be unraveling. We have the second spike now, but let me leave that for now until the Q&A bit. I'm sure a lot of people would ask you questions, as well as Dr. Idaye.